thirsty, and 30.
Hello and welcome to episode 8 of Thirsty and 30, the show that's fun, informative, and frankly the blind leading the blind in the love space. Our goal is to navigate and translate modern love with all its complications and quirks so that you can make saner decisions. I'm Shari, your usual non-expert and ever curious about modern love or first time on YouTube. Hey Bea.
I know. Are you nervous? You were a bit nervous that we were just going to go
I am a
YouTube.
little bit
Like,
nervous. I think that's why I've been gulping.
just rip the Band-Aid out. We
Yeah.
have 3 people here. That's good.
Guys,
Okay,
is
good
a-
evening, everyone. I hope you guys are thirsty in the headspace and also thirsty with a beverage. So I'm Bea, your other non-expert in love, and I hope you're just excited about our episode tonight. The topic is one that has come about in one of our episodes, right, Sherry? I don't know which episode that was. Was that ghosting?
Yeah, ghosting episode.
Yeah, so one of our viewers, actually, I don't know if he was based in New York or Sydney, but I guess he can confirm later on if he joins in, who suggested we talk about unconventional relationships. So today we're going to chat about open and polyamorous relationships.
Yeah. But I'm all before we dive into the topic, I'm always excited for our Wednesday drunkenness or drinks in our daldalan. So what are you drinking tonight?
Okay, I'm having gin and soda with a fruit bowl inside. I think there's strawberries and lemon, and we're not, sticking to one fruit. We are going poly and open tonight. So here it is.
I'm having our friends over at Must Love Wines sent this Levolé. It's a flavorful Chardonnay with oak notes of lemon, lime, and minerality.
Oh,
It's best
wow.
paired with seafood. I had a big fishball craving kanina. I should have had this a while ago.
I know. Fishbowl
Yeah.
and wine. I mean, how classy can you
Diba?
get?
So
Actually,
Must Love what?
I ordered from her a few weeks ago. She has some fancy French wine. So go for it.
Good. It's good. So Must Love Wines aims to help people gain more appreciation for wine. They said we go beyond our local groceries and deli selections. A sommelier, Pilar Almario, curates their wine selection. Other than taste, they select wines from sustainable and biodynamic vineyards. They will help you select the best wine based on your budget and taste preference. Follow them on Instagram, Must Love Wines.
Such
So,
a
Bea,
mouthful.
I know, right? And it's good. I have to say, good choice, guys. They even asked me, we have 2 good wines for you, but one has more alcohol content. I'm like, send me the one with more alcohol content.
You didn't even care about the taste or,
But they said they were equally good, but one had more alcohol. So I'm like, okay, more alcohol. It wins. Okay,
Okay.
so let's go back to the topic at hand. Bea, a lot of people are clueless about what polyamory and open relationships actually are. Diba?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've done a lot of research. Actually, my head is aching with the, many complexities of humanity. And, it came up. I'll link it to our chat box. But basically, there was it. I don't know. Maybe our guest will correct me for this, but there was this playbook or a guidebook called The Ethical Slut, which I think maybe they would talk about more. And it was what I found really interesting about this guidebook is how it how the idea came about. One of the writers actually was watching, I think she was stuck at home, she was sick of bronchitis, and she found Indecent Proposal. Does anyone know what? You've seen Indecent Proposal, right? I hope you guys have seen it. So it's got Demi Moore and Woody Harrelson and Robert Redford. And Robert, feeling close, eh?
Robert.
Millionaire propositioned the couple that he could sleep with Demi for like, I don't know, a million. I can't remember the value. But I guess she saw it on TV and was like, how is that messed up? Like, so she wrote a guidebook with a friend or co-collaborator, and that is the Guidebook of Polyamory, I think. Let's ask our guests.
There is a clear term for these kinds of relationships. It's called consensual non-monogamy, or CNM. It's an umbrella term. It describes any relationship in which all participants explicitly agree. That's a keyword there. Explicitly agree. Bawal yung I'm in an open relationship. Wink. Bawal yun.
Wait, explain mo yan. Or mamaya na ba?
Mamaya na. Yeah, mamaya na yun. So, explicitly agree to have multiple concurrent sexual and or romantic relationships. The specific agreements of CNM can vary significantly, and there are terms that help capture some of those differences, such as polygamy, swinging open relationships, monogamish. What is monogamish? Polyamory, and relationship anarchy. So Bea, tell me, have you had any experience with CNM?
I would say I've dipped my toes in it because I was once cheated on really badly. Like I found, how do I explain this, Shari? I was dating someone in a relationship in Australia, and I found a Colombian-looking porn star on my bed with the guy. And so basically that shocked me. And in the fear of losing that person, basically I decided to agree to a semi-open. I had no idea. But basically both of us could date people. And then we'd get to the point that we would catch up about it, and he would ask, how was your date? And, he said to me, he always wanted to meet people, women. And to me, I was like, I come from the Philippines, we just like one man, that's it. You get married and game over, right? You stay loyal as the cows come home or whatever the phrase is. So I was like, okay, I can't lose this person. So I decided to go for it. And I went on dates. Yeah, I went on crazy dates. Yeah.
And how long were you in this kind of arrangement for?
It was such a blur. I reckon it was about 3 months or so. And then you have a favorite. Like, I think that was the hardest. And then maybe we can ask the guest later how you get over the awkward stage. Like, how do you get past that part? I was like, we're talking about my cafe date, my whiskey date. Like, it was just weird.
Or do you want to force yourself to move past it? Or are you just naturally more keen on open relationships, and some people are just more naturally, my favorite, like what I said before in our virtual dating episode, like I talked to a few people, but I always have one favorite. And as a person, that's me. Like I can't spread. Like I try, even when I'm just going on dates, but I always just gravitate towards one. I don't know. Maybe I'm boring. I'm boring.
I don't know. I've been bruised by that relationship. So, I mean, I'm open to anything. It depends. Like for me, it's communication and having a really productive, happy relationship. As cheesy as that sounds. So I don't know.
But tonight we have two guests who have much more experience in their topic. And you know what, Grabe? I feel so tita. When we spoke to them the first time, I'm like, oh my God, ang tita ko. Ang cool nila ang tita ko. So, Bea, who are our guests?
Okay, I know. After they left, we were like, oh my God, wala tayong experience na ganyan. Medyo pabulong.
The vibe was just cool. Ako na, tititigan tayo. I'm like, oh my God. Dapat nagsuot ako ng cool na outfit.
It's like when someone asks you, have you heard of this album? Like, and you're like, yeah, I have. Like, yeah, pretty much. Okay, so
no matter how cool they are, though, they're so nice. Like
Oh,
they didn't make me
absolutely.
feel uncool or such a square,
Yeah.
even if yeah.
Okay, so let's say hi to our guest and put the icebreaker there. Guys,
Mm.
please answer it. Hi, Marquitos. And Kimmy Rogis, I hope. I'm so excited. Hi, Kimmy. Okay.
Hello.
And,
Hey,
oh,
Marielle.
Marielle.
And I think Jamie's watching. Hey, Jamie. Hey, Jess. J
Yeah.
Mills, my other feeling cool friend. What's up?
Okay, so our guests tonight are incredibly two cool women.
Okay.
Absolutely make us feel like tita or anong sabi mo kanina, losyang.
Losyang.
Kanina may shawl ka, bakit ngayon wala?
I had a throw mamaya pag ginawa ko.
Okay,
Baka
so
makamulan ako.
they're basically the creators of Now Open PH, a
Hi,
podcast. Hi, and good vibes. Tama yan. A podcast that promotes sex positivity and absolute honesty and openness.
Mm.
So we have two guests. One is Kai, is an academic and currently studying in UP. So we're in good hands.
Mhm.
Feminist, sex advocate, and a very vocal on Twitter. We like
Sex
that.
ed advocate, Bea.
Ah, sorry, anong sabi ko? Ano
Sex
sinabi ko?
advocate.
Sorry. Sorry. Bakit? Ano man problema kung sex advocate ka?
Pero
Anyways,
sex ed advocate.
sex ed and I'm so sorry. Trisha is an expert in web content and SEO. She is a former sex columnist and writes a lot of diverse topics like cars, sex toys. I picked this from her LinkedIn because I thought she's very interesting. Himalayan salt lamps. I have known nothing about salt lamps, so let's ask her. Web design, strippers. I love strippers. I love strip clubs. I love brothels. They're very interesting places. Basically, a fangirl of humanity. So, should we
Let's
bring them
bring
out?
them in, the cool girls.
There
Hi,
you
guys.
go.
Hi
Hi.
everyone.
Welcome to your
Hello.
CM30.
Thank
See how
you.
tita we look ba yan? Naka-directly under me. Paano yung the hair? Oh, guys, naka lang. I'm cool. Ahem. So, guys, let's kind of break the ice. Let's break the ice a bit. So, I have like an icebreaker question for the all four of us. If you could invite three people over, living or dead, for a group date, who would they be? Just say who and don't explain why. Three people. So, let's start with Kai.
Um, Haley Kiyoko. Who else? My
Why would you do
girlfriend
this to me?
and
Girlfriend.
Trisha.
Aw, how sweet.
And
Ah,
Trisha. Yeah,
Aw.
yeah. Us
Damn
three.
it,
That would be
I
fun.
wasn't gonna say you at all.
Damn.
Why have you
Damn.
done this to me?
okay, how about
Um,
you, Trisha?
I was gonna say Anais Nin, Kate
Ooh, that's a good
Blanchett,
one.
Mm.
and I was gonna say Ezra Miller because I've had a crush on him forever, but I can't because apparently he beats people up. So I don't know who my third is anymore. Kai na lang because she was so nice to invite me.
Oh. Guys, we have one. PSJ Hyun. Who's PSJ? Hyun Bin and Park Bogum. Gum?
Are those Korean
I'm sure
actors you
they're
don't know?
Koreans. Okay.
Okay, okay.
How about you, Bea?
Okay, Jimi Hendrix for sure. We have the dead ones. And then, okay, Angelina, she's not dead, but Angelina Jolie is a beautiful human being. And John Lennon or Hunter S. Thompson.
Don't be greedy. Tatlo lang.
ikaw, joke.
Conan
Yeah.
O'Brien, Trevor Noah, and
Ooh, the talk show.
I know talk show.
This is a
Maybe
date or a
Paul
talk show?
McCartney. Since you brought up a Beatle, Paul's my favorite Beatle.
You gotta have a beat. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Good. How about guys? We only have one answer here. Korean pa. Hindi ko kilala yung mga yan.
I
So
know. I think kailan ko si Hyun Bin. Siya yata, he's the one on Crash Landing on You.
yeah. So okay.
Okay.
We'll give them time to think. It's a really hard question, and you have to think about if they're alive or dead. So okay, we'll go with their what are we gonna talk about and how we're gonna talk about it tonight. So Sharon and I really love a three-part structure. Like any good story, there's the start, start, middle, and end. So when
Wait,
Sharon and I were
guys, I want to brag first. Thank you. Thank you for the support.
You're my sister. Wag kang gago.
This
Ayan,
is a
meron
good
pa
one.
tayo. Yan. Oh my God, Jason Momoa!
Oh,
Yes.
Oh
okay,
yeah, I should have
I'm
said
gonna kick out.
that.
I'm gonna kick out. Paul McCartney. Sorry, Beatle. Jason Momoa's in.
Can I kick out Kai?
Damn.
Okay, guys. So tonight we have a three-part structure. So Sherry and I were discussing what's the best analogy. It was really hard for us. There's so many ways to go about it, from Polly Pocket to we decided on swimming, learning how to swim specifically. So we're gonna do it in three stages. First is when you're dipping your toes in the water, and like how do you really get into poly and open relationships? Secondly, diving in, finally putting dipping your head in and understanding the movements of swimming. What happens when you actually make that decision? And third, of course, Shari's favorite in the Olympics. Nasa Olympics pa talaga to.
Synchronized swimming, of course. Once again, I told you my
I
favorite
love
Olympic,
that.
my favorite
How-
Olympic
Great
sport is
analogy.
curling.
I don't even get that. I don't even
It is
understand.
a big granite. It's like a big piece of rock, okay, and then you like slide it across the a floor of ice, and then you yell at the rock, and then your teammates just scrape the floor, and you aim for it. Okay, it's a beautiful game, Bea. It's a beautiful
Okay, like this. The poly and open can be a very beautiful, not a game, but how to maintain or grow in an open relationship and poly.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh nga, Jose
I
Rizal. Okay.
never thought of I had to put this back. I never thought of Jose Rizal to be part of my three, but you know what? Mabuhay ka, Marquitos. Mabuhay ka.
Alright.
So guys, we also prepared a fun little game in the middle for you guys and our thirsty crowd. But before we get into it, we were sent another anonymous letter. I love these anonymous letters, Bea. You know that. I feel like we're actually helpful. So we actually have pros here to help this person. So here's the letter. Dear Thirsty and 30, I've been with my girlfriend for 9 months now, and I love her very much. We get along in every way, and both our lives just fit perfectly, except for one little thing. She has bouts of hypersexuality, which was great at first. Do not get me wrong, I love sex, and sex with her is amazing. But lately, this has been a bit of an exhausting and no longer pleasing or feasible scenario. I cannot just have sex 24/7. I feel terrible and so guilty when I cannot keep up with her needs, and I hate seeing the hunger and disappointment in her eyes when I wave the white flag in the bedroom. I crave a connection that goes beyond physical, which I only get after our exhausting rounds of sex marathons. To get around this problem, we thought of a solution. We are both considering opening up our relationship. I will allow her to have sex with other men. I think this will be able to satisfy her intense hunger when I can't, and we can focus more on connecting on a deeper emotional level. This will be our first foray in open relationships. So, I have two questions. One, will trying an open relationship help our issue, or is it too risky? Two, if we do decide to do it, what are the ground rules that you recommend? Thank you guys from Exhausted V.
I love that.
I'm taking notes.
So, what do you guys think?
Yeah, what do you guys think? That's pretty intense.
That's technically my setup, like where it's open on my side and it's monogamous on my partner's side.
Mhm.
Personally, I think that it can help the relationship, because the thing is, I think off the from the get go, I have to say that polyamory and not ethical non-monogamy isn't for everyone. It's an
Yeah.
alternative. It's an alternative, and it's a viable alternative. The same way monogamy is as valid a relationship set up. It's the same as ethical non-monogamy. But then, as I said, it's not for everyone. So I think before you even like think of going into it, you have to um you have to talk about it and really like clarify the boundaries of how far you can go in terms of things. Clarity is always kindness. Clarity is what saves the day. Like, and even like what how I like to talk about it is you have to be radically honest. Radically, like,
I love that. Yeah. I've heard this many times. Radical honesty, not just in relationships, but your approach to life, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I suggest that, like, in terms of seeing if it's for you or not, like openly and honestly talk about what you fear, what you want to get out of it.
Yeah.
Where you want this to go. What's the end goal of this? Like, is parang everything that you possibly think of, I think should be laid out on the table with your partner, because you're partners. You're in this together. You're not here to work against each other, diba? So
Yeah, for sure.
that
Yeah.
radical honesty and openness, I feel, in that conversation, tough conversation, has to be had about, like, what you expect, what you don't want. Like, you're literally just lay everything out. Yeah.
How about you, Trisha?
Well, Kai already said a lot of great things about communication. What I want to say though about using ethical non-monogamy as like a solution to an issue, because usually I would recommend it kind of being like, hey, we're a very solid couple, but here's something I think that we might enjoy. The problem with that is that if you use it as a band-aid solution, if you're not already solid together, then it's just going to unearth a lot of problems. So you just have to make sure that if you're doing this, you're doing it for the right reasons, and you're doing it because you both want to. Like, one partner doesn't feel pressured or forced into it, because that's just like a recipe for disaster. But based on the letter, it really sounds like, both of you are in it to win it. You're both willing to put in the work, and it sounds like you guys have a super great relationship.
Mhm.
So if you want to take the next step, I think aside from communicating with each other, it's really important that no matter what happens, like, you have to know that you're a team. It's
Yeah.
not you versus your partner. It's not who's going to win, who's going to get what they want. It's both of you get what you want, or neither of you are going to get what you want,
Mm.
And you also have to know that no matter how careful you are, especially if this is your first non-monogamous relationship, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to fuck up. You're going to accidentally hurt the other person. You might feel jealous. Like, these things are going to happen, So you don't fear it. It's always going to be a risk. Any relationship is a risk. Every day is a risk. You never know if your partner is going to leave you today or not. So just be prepared for that. Be prepared to take challenges and conflict and handle them together, because it's going to happen. It's not going to be perfect and sunshine and roses 24/7.
Right.
Ikaw, Bea, what do you think?
Yeah, and I mean that's the main thing. It's trust is the key, right?
Mm-mm.
So I mean it's good to have some level of self-awareness that you can't have sex 24/7. It seems like that's where it's stemming from. So
Yeah.
it's kind of selfless that he's exploring this. Yeah. So try mo na lang. But my issue with this thing is, how do you go back? Let's say you decide I want to be monogamous. I don't want to do this. How do you go back? Because I've been reading that some people say that you can't go back. Like once you explore this, you're going forward, and you can't go back, or you break up. But I could be wrong. I don't have experience, so.
I was thinking, like, have they explored other ways to feed her hunger? I mean, I guess people don't. I mean, it's common for a lot of couples not to have the same sex drive, naman, in general.
Mhm.
Sex toys, like
Yes.
before, I guess, because it sounds like this guy. It sounds like he's not 100% sold on being non-monogamous, and I feel like maybe before diving into and experimenting with that, because he's asking if there is a risk, and I feel like if you ask a question if it's risky, that means may fear ka of it. So maybe let's try the feeding her, buy her some sex toys, give her like a gift basket,
Ooh, yeah. Trisha's a big fan of gift baskets.
I love gift baskets.
Really, where is the best one? How do you what's the best gift basket out there?
Oh no, I make my own, because like you
Oh,
have to tailor fit it. And there was actually a time when I had multiple partners, and then after sex, I would send them like a little "thank you for having sex with me" gift basket.
Wow.
And it would
Wow,
have
so
it would
nice.
have like water, because you'd probably dehydrate it from the sex. Like one time I even put a blanket in there, just like, here, thank you so much.
Okay.
Pocari sweat. Let's get your
You know what?
electrolytes
It
back
should be
there.
Pocari Sweat.
Parang boxing lang or gym.
Oo.
Okay.
How about okay, so guys, let's say they decide na nga. The second question is, what are like if you can give one ground rule, in your all in both, let's just ask Trisha and Kai, in your open or polyamorous relationships, what's your main ground rule?
Yeah.
What's your non-negotiable when it comes to your relationships?
Trisha and I have different like non-negotiables because like
Mhm.
the way we do poly is different. Like for me,
Mm-mm.
like the way earlier today I was talking to my partner about someone I might be seeing again, and we talked about it, and and then we came up with this analogy where it's like my partner and I we own a house, we own a home. We own a home together. We're gonna welcome people. I'm gonna welcome people because I'm non-monogamous. So I'd welcome people and cook them dinner, give them a bed to stay in, but no one can enter the master bedroom. So it's like the master bedroom is for me and my primary. That's just us. That's me and my
That's such
partner.
a good rule.
That's me and my
That's a
partner.
nice-
But
yeah.
so like people can come in, have dinner, stay over, but then they can't come into the master bedroom. That is ours. And that's like, that's I have a hard boundary about like, for example, in a more realistic setting, in a sense parang with my secondaries, I wouldn't make an effort to like introduce them to my sister, or like, or I wouldn't make an effort to bring them closer to my friend group. I wouldn't make an effort to um I wouldn't give them the same amount of reassurance, time, effort that I give my primary.
So
That's
clear and set boundaries and
clear and set boundaries, yes.
special special privileges sounds like a terrible term, but again, there is certain things that
Special
are reserved
treatment. VIP. There's a
for
VIP
yeah.
partner.
Yeah,
Okay.
like only your
Right.
primary can meet your parents. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think it makes
Yeah.
you more secure in that you are the special. You're not
Right.
yeah.
Right. But that's how
How
I
about-
do poly. So
Yeah.
it's different
Yeah.
for others.
How about you,
How about
Trisha? If you
Trisha?
had one
Yeah.
ground rule to suggest.
The
This
really
one,
weird thing.
he said, thank you for sex gifts. Good idea.
Yeah, you can cop that. It's not trademark. But yeah, the way I do poly is a little bit different. I still do practice hierarchical poly in the sense that I have a primary right now, but I am open to letting other people into the master bedroom or having multiple master bedrooms, I guess, in this analogy. It hasn't happened yet, but if it does, then it's totally cool with my relationship. So I played a little bit loosey goosey. What my partner and I pretty much the one of the only rules we have, like besides safe sex, is just tell me. Like
Yeah.
I don't want a don't ask, don't tell policy. I don't want to pretend that you're not dating other people. I want this is a part of your life and I want to celebrate in it also. I want you to
Trisha,
give me the
I
chance.
have a question. Yung tell me mo, do you get into like intense details with the tell me, or you just saying, okay, I slept with this person, period? Or do you go in like, I slept with this person,
Yeah.
oh my god, nabalibag ako. Yung mga things like that. How nitty-gritty do you get?
Shari
Or is it
balibag?
just big?
Ano?
Yeah.
We actually get
Balibag.
pretty detailed.
Oh,
I've
okay.
actually
Okay.
heard my partner having sex in the other room. Like,
What did you
ang ingay
think?
kasi nung partner niya eh.
Pero what
Okay,
did you
okay.
feel? Like, jealous he wasn't there? You're just like, you go, girl. Ganon?
Well,
Or
that's
that's my
actually
girl?
happened. That's happened a couple of times actually,
Okay.
and there have been times where I'm just like so happy for them, just like yes, go, I'm great. You need anything? Water, like
Condom?
Pocari
Sponsored
Sweat,
by Pocari Sweat.
condom, like or we'll have a cigarette after or in between or something.
Wow, okay.
Okay.
But then of course there are times where I feel jealousy. Hasn't happened very often, and it's
Mm.
never like earth shattering. It's just like, oh, I feel a little left out, or oh, I feel like I probably need some more reassurance after this. So both has happened,
Yeah.
but they're not. It's not earth shattering. It's not something that. It's in the same way that in like a normal relationship, not normal, but like in a monogamous relationship, you'll have bad days, you'll have good days, and it's not always about the quality of your relationship. I don't know, maybe you're hungry, maybe you're sleepy, or maybe you're
Mm-mm.
stressed to work. There's always so many factors.
Yeah. You mentioned about monogamy. Like, was there a trigger moment that put you off monogamy? Like,
Monogamy. Yeah.
or was it just a consecutive series of events for you both? Maybe Trisha first.
Yeah. It's weird because looking back at my life, it feels like I was always this way. I can't really remember a point in time where I was very traditional about my ideas about relationships. especially because marriage just seemed like a bad idea to me. Like I couldn't fathom one person being with someone for like 50, 60 years or something, especially because my parents' marriage was not good and I didn't really know any other people who had parents who were like still together, or we just all came from dysfunctional families basically. So even as a young kid, it was just like, I don't know if marriage is a thing that I would want to get into, even if I wasn't thinking about like monogamy or whatever. I don't think if I want to get married, because I also might get bored.
So,
That's always
but
my
Trisha,
biggest worry.
Trisha, you mentioned marriage though. If you do, is guys, question to the both of you: marriage and open relationships. That's a thing, right? Like polyamorous marriages.
Yeah, there are poly marriages. There are also, I've seen cases or heard stories of people who were married, opened up their relationship and met a third person that they love so much that they actually got divorced so that
I
everyone's
see.
equal.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's many different configurations.
We have a hater who hates my cardigan. I feel cold. Okay. Wait, what does this mean?
Yeah.
Marquitos, no back. Hard rule was no back to back. Like
As in sunod-sunod, like,
siguro once in a while lang pwede mag-open up ng relationship. Marquitos, please explain. We're very curious.
ano yung mga frequency? Like, ilang days ang break bago pwede? Ayan. Sherry, everyone's all over you today. Free the nip.
Where? No.
Wait, Kai, how about you? What was your trigger moment?
Yeah.
For me, I don't know, like like growing up in the relationships I've been in, like I've never, I mean, at honeymoon phase, it feels really good and it's so fun. And then it settles in and you're like, I always felt this sense of like, there's always so much out there. You know what I mean? And I'm missing out because I'm tied down.
Oh, sorry,
Like-
Kai. Here's what he means pala. No repeat of the same person. Just
Oh.
no back to back. Okay, that's
So when I
So isn't
stand,
that open? That's open relationship. Because
Yeah,
like, I
open.
see that
Yeah.
poly is more of, oh nga, sinabi nga niya pala, hindi ako nagbabasa, sorry.
Okay,
Sige,
Marquitos.
go.
Thank you,
Go,
Marquitos.
Kai.
Very interesting. Okay,
Interesting.
sorry, Kai. Go ahead.
Oh, it's all good. Yeah, I've always felt in the relationships I've been in the past, and they were all monogamous. I always felt that I was missing out on so much, and that I was like, I always felt that I needed more, in the sense that I wasn't satisfied with just dating. I wasn't satisfied with just fucking. I wasn't satisfied with just like constantly sharing myself to like one person. And I tried like the whole like yeah, let's like, you know, let's go on Tinder, and I did the whole deceitful thing. I cheated. I was lying to people, my partners. They were lying to me. I've been through. I was a cheater. And I realized like, why is this monogamy thing not working for me? In the sense that like, I just couldn't see myself connecting in this level with one person.
Yeah.
Like I just couldn't like. And then I met Trisha, and from her I learned like, oh, this polyamory thing is a thing. And then
you
like
learned it from me.
I did learn it from you.
I didn't know
Trisha
that.
is
Me too,
Trisha
yeah,
is
Guidebook.
yeah.
I just
I
dragged
did
everybody
Influencer.
into this.
Influencer.
I did learn it from Trisha, and I tried it out with my with a few relationships, like with my ex boyfriend, and it didn't work out with him. And then I dated, and at one point Trisha like set me up with her girlfriend, and we started dating for a bit, and
Wait.
that relationship was
She's
Trisha
still
set
waiting for you
up-
to call her back.
Trisha set you up with her girlfriend, like her primary girlfriend, or like a secondary girlfriend.
her
Oh.
primary.
How interesting.
So like
My
I feel
nesting
so
partner.
tita, Bea. Ano ba yan? Yung mga
I feel like
reaction ko parang-
such, yeah. Wait,
Well, because
before-
if I'm going to share my girlfriend with anyone, why not my best friend?
see, that's quite
true. That makes a lot of
nice. Yeah.
sense.
That
and
was
I
the
was so
thing.
honored. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we hear you, Marquitos. Oh, yeah. Okay.
That was him. Are you based in Sydney or New York?
No,
or
New York.
Bulacan? Or
New
Bulacan?
York, diba, Marquitos? Am I right? You're based in New York. I'm right.
Well, that was the weird thing. When I was dabbling into open relationship, my partner then was kind of introducing me to the people he would see like he would say that you'd get along with this girl, and it was really weird for me. And this is a question I asked a while ago to you, Shari, or I guess I want to ask you girls: is how do you get over the awkward stage? There is an awkward stage, right? I'm not like
Yeah.
a weird person.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you get over that? What's the process?
Well, for me, at least, the awkward stage is something that I feel was necessary for me to go through because I realized that if I didn't meet my partner's partners, I would be so much more jealous
Yes.
because I would make an image of them in my head. And that image will obviously be so much better than they actually are, or just like an
Right.
idealized version of them. So if
Right.
I got to know them as a person, I would get to know who they really are. And I would also be able to see their heart to kind of like make
Yeah.
sure that they're not here for, or they don't have bad intentions, that they're a good person. And that actually makes it so much easier. So now, as the mother Polly, who apparently dragged everyone into this, I kind of make it a point to be the one who's initiating, like, oh, I want to meet them, or like, hey, let's have a group hang so that you can meet everybody.
Yeah.
Because, I understand that it's awkward for other people. So I'm the bridge now, in a
Yeah.
way.
Uh,
Yeah.
You're mommy Polly. That's
Yeah.
good.
She
Mommy
is. She is
Polly.
Mama Polly. She is
I
Mama
love
Polly.
this.
Guys, here's a question. Ako personally, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, polyamorous, you're more centered on love, like making more emotional connections, not just sex. But and okay, monogamous pala yan. Monogamous, stick to one like bubblegum, that's monogamy. But I think with polyamorous versus open relationships I feel like is more the motivation's mainly sex, right? Is that right? Versus
Yeah.
polyamory?
Right. 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 Like, I mean, because like for me, it's my setup is more. It veers on like the border of open and poly, in the sense that it's like I am dating and I am seeing other people, but I have that strict boundary that you can't cross. There's a
Mm-mm.
strict boundary that parang, I'm not going to bring you up to this emotional level. But I like being friends with you and I like knowing you better. I like having the possibility of this going farther, but I'm not gonna take that possibility. Parang ganon.
Mm-mm.
Like,
Okay.
it's a spectrum of how open your relationship gets, basically. Yeah.
It's such a, I love that word that you said, it's a spectrum. Like the
Mm.
motivations can be multiple, and also the spectrums of feelings can cross between open and poly. Like it's
Yeah.
not mutually exclusive. That's why I think it's hard for monogamous people to accept it or understand it, is
Right,
because they see
right.
it. This is it. This is one box,
Black or
and
white, that's the
yeah,
vision. Mm-mm.
yeah.
Right. Exactly,
So okay,
exactly.
so since our first stage, like in our three-parter is dipping your toes in. So I guess the big question is, how do you start the conversation? Like you go on the first date with somebody, how do you even bring it up? Like how do you explain and say, okay, this is it. This is my situation. Like do you have like a main line? How do you explain
Like a
the
pickup line.
process? Like biglang, oo.
My
How do you
God.
start it? How do you start a non-monogamous relationship?
Trisha and I have different starting points in that. Like, I mean, I learned it from Trisha, but then like when I got with my
Mommy Polly. Mommy
Mama
Polly.
Polly, Mama Polly.
Mama Polly.
I should
When
get a
I got,
shirt.
you should get a shirt. I'm gonna get you that shirt.
We'll make you a
Merch.
mug. We're big mug people here.
Oh my God, I would love a mug. Like
What
that.
did you learn? What's the line?
Yeah, what's the line?
It wasn't necessarily a line. Like what happened was like I rehearsed. I rehearsed the conversation with my friends. Like I was so nervous. I talked to all my friends like, okay, I'm gonna tell my partner that I'm seeing other people. So I need to like rehearse this with you. And they said the meanest things like, okay, what if she says this? What if she says this? What if she says this? To the point where I was crying. I'm like, I don't want to lose her, but I'm so scared. I have to make this conversation. But they were so
Yeah.
mean about it. They're like, we're just trying to make sure that you're ready for anything. I was
Prep
like,
for the worst, yeah.
prep for the worst, diba? So
Tough love.
so I get to the conversation and I'm like, I've talked about something. Um, thing is, I can't stick to one person. I thrive on multiple connections. And the thing is, I have been talking to people since we have started talking, but I feel that the deepest connection I have so far is with you, and I want to explore it, which is what I said to her. And she was so nice about it. She was really like, she was very accepting and open and very understanding about my personality in that sense. And that's kind of what drove me to that that idea of radical honesty. Like, sometimes when you're with the right person, they're really going
Yeah.
to be open to hearing you out.
This is interesting, guys. What are the telltale signs that a new person is going to be ready for this kind of new setup? How do you assess if it's worth pursuing?
What are the signs?
Hmm.
Are there signs?
Are there signs?
Well,
It's like how,
like
yeah.
assuming that this is your first time and you're both exploring it together, and neither of you have ever brought it up, I think a good sign would be like you can check other people out together. I think that's a good sign because it shows that,
Okay.
like, oh yeah, that girl's hot. Yeah, I agree. It shows that there's like a healthy security that even if you're attracted to other people, you're very secure in your own relationship. That's like a good sign. It doesn't always mean that you're open to poly, but great sign. Because if they're already jealous, if you like even comment on somebody being attractive, like even a celebrity, then that's like probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That is a good
And
thing.
also, you never know. You never know. Because look,
I love this. Having Filipino ideals, it was hard for me to accept that my partner wanted to have an open relationship. It took me 8 months to wrap my head around the idea, but apparently I liked it.
I guess you
Congratulations.
never know until you try. Try and
Mhm.
try until you buy. What am I saying?
May bibilin ka? Sinong bibilin mo?
I don't know. Di ko alam. I don't even know. Anyway, so
Kaya, you were saying
um,
something?
yeah, Kai.
Was I lost my train of
How
thought.
about you? Do you have
I
a
know.
telltale sign that you feel like?
Yeah.
Let's go back to what Kimmy said.
I feel I don't. I mean, like what I do. Because for me, I've always been the type to really talk it out. So I don't like to. Ayoko nagbabasa. But I don't want to assume that this action means this. I don't want to assume that like, you know, that this what you said something. You might mean this instead. I don't like that. Like I don't like to assume that something meant something else. So really,
Yeah.
like there could be signs, sure, but honestly, all I can say is you never know until you talk. You'll never know until you really like have that tough conversation. Because if, like as Trisha said earlier, you're in this team together, and if you're on this team together, they're worth having that tough conversation, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
They're worth having that scary conversation. And I feel like even though there might be signs, sure, but then I don't know. I like to talk about it talaga. Like, I'd much rather bring it out on the table, as I said. Go
Yes.
So
Arjun.
how would you guys go about it? Let's say you met somebody, the connection's intense, you really like this person. You have this conversation that you guys are polyamorous. You don't believe in monogamy, but this person, her non-negotiable or his non-negotiable is monogamy. Is that a deal breaker?
It is for me. So when Kai says we have different approaches, it's because when I date people, it's like one of the first things they know about me. Like probably even before we get to the first date, like we're just talking. Especially now that I have a primary partner, like I'm already in a committed relationship. I have to be
Mm.
extremely upfront so we don't waste any time
Mm.
because I know that if I knew that you weren't okay with non-monogamy, why would I even go on a date with you? I don't want to. I know that's not what I want. So I wouldn't
Yeah.
waste any more time on that. I'll go out with you as a friend, but other than that, I'm not going to get my hopes up only to drop it at a later date. So for me, total non-negotiable. For some people it isn't, for some people it's just something they're interested in and that's totally fine. But
Mm.
Yeah.
for so many people, it's something that, it's just really not worth it if you guys aren't on the same page.
But
Yeah.
have you encountered like with maybe your past primaries or secondaries na they asked for monogamy? Like they were poly or open and then suddenly they decided na suddenly like no, I love you so much. I want it to
Yeah.
be just you and me.
Yes. I think
No,
yes.
no,
Yeah,
no.
Awkward
parang you've had
silence
Never.
that.
means yes.
Um, I mean, has it ever happened to you, Kai? Because it hasn't.
With my most recent ex, like remember, like we tried to open the relationship, and like we did, but her common argument was like, and we, as what Trisha was saying earlier, she was like, if you start out opening the relationship because of a current problem, it's just bound to cause more problems. It definitely is. So like that's what happened. Like we had a problem, we opened the relationship, and then later on she goes like, I don't understand why you have to be poly, like why can't we just enjoy each other? But then like, still deceit was still happening, like on both ends. So it was a really bad relationship. And
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's not for everyone. And I think it's not for everyone in the sense that like when you want to open the relationship or try this whole non-monogamy thing, if it's not ethical, if it's in the sense that like if it's not something that is grounded, if the foundation is not something that is grounded on trust and love and communication and respect, it's not gonna work talaga. Like that's honestly like what I think.
Yeah. It goes
Yeah,
back
I
to
was.
what we were
Yeah,
saying
go ahead,
about
Bea.
trust. Trust is key. And what you're explaining right now is this toxicity and, this possessiveness. And this one's really
Mm.
interesting. Some would enter to break you and your primary. Watch out for those.
Ooh.
Yeah, and well, I was getting so obsessed with researching about these non-traditional relationships. And communication is greater when it comes when you go out of monogamy. Your communication has to be like next level. You check in on each
Yeah.
other constantly.
Yeah.
It's actually more work than a more traditional relationship based on what I read. And
Mm.
I guess initially I thought that jealousy would be such a big deal and possessiveness would be such a big deal, but apparently it's less of a problem
Yeah.
in polyamorous relationships, which I
Yeah.
never would have expected. Because I would feel like if I guess because maybe I'm just not it's not my thing, or I've
Yeah.
never tried it. But like in my head, because if I imagined myself in one, I'd be like, oh my god, this person's gonna be like, he's doing this. This person's funnier than me, or this person's better at this than me, or and
Right.
things would play in my head, which I think
Right.
um would be a common reaction to most people who aren't familiar with
Right.
this kind of relationship. But yeah, it's very interesting. So we did the first step, which is how to get into one. So now the second stage in our three-parter is learning the movements. Dive in and learn the strokes. So how do you guys, like as I said, keep up the communication and keep the stability in your now open or polyamorous relationship?
No.
Mm.
I like that.
Do you guys have a planner or an organizer? Like, do you organize
Yeah.
your
How do
Google
you
calendars?
maintain?
um
Yeah.
what my partner and I do is every Friday we have a check-in. So
Okay, that's cool.
every Friday we have a structured check-in where it's like, okay, what are we thankful for today? I mean, what are we thankful for each other this past week? What are we thankful for in our lives this week? What can we improve on in this week? And then the last question is always, are we still okay with the setup? Are we still okay with this? Right, we
I
have
love
that.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, my
So
partner and
yeah.
we don't talk like every week naman. We were talking constantly about it because it's just part of our lives. So it'll be like, oh, this girl said this, we're flirting, I'm kilig, whatever. So we're just constantly bringing it up that it's become a very normal topic to us. But when we do have dates with other people, we do check in like once on the date. Maybe if we bring them back, then we have a cigarette rule where it's they have to come out, meet my partner, hello. Because my partner and we live in separate apartments, but they're right next to each other. So we have our own separate space. So when I bring
Yeah.
somebody back, I'll just be like, oh, this is my partner. This is my partner. This is my date. All right, I'm going to take her to my room. I'll cuddle you later. You know?
Wow. Okay, that's so
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
So
No, I remember.
there's little routines that you do. I like what you said about Kai about have this weekly check-ins, and then with you Trisha, it's this whole meeting, making sure that the person you go on a date with is someone they can kind of trust, or I guess if you bring them home, right, you kind of have to
Yeah.
trust them.
Yeah.
I hope so.
But then I have a question. Is there okay? So fidelity or being stick to one in non-traditional relationships is not a thing. But there certain things that you would consider to be infidelity? Like do you have
Mm.
hard rules na, okay, this person this person sucks and I can't stand bawal yan. Or you can't go with this, that. Are there certain things that would fall under the realm of infidelity or cheating when it comes to
Yeah.
open or polyamorous relationships?
I.
I love the
Yeah.
awkward silences.
They're like,
You answer that.
I've always thought of cheating as something. I mean, it always has deceit. Like it always
Mhm.
has the level of deceit in it. It always has a level of dishonesty. So that deceit and that dishonesty can also exist in open relationships and ethically non-monogamous relationships, in the sense na you break the rule of, say, for example, with Trisha. I mean, we agree on this na parang we want to know everything. Na parang I tell my partner everything. Every date I go on, every person I talk to, I tell her about it. But if there's something that I'm hiding, I feel that's infidelity on my part. If I'm hiding something, if I'm deceiving my partner. More than that, like a hard rule for me is if I know this person is not if I know this person is going to hurt you, or if I know that this person has a history of hurting you. For example, exes, like
Yeah.
toxic exes. I was talking to my partner earlier today. I was like, I'm honestly okay with ex A because you guys are okay now and you guys are friends, and I know that the relationship is healthier now. But I'm not
Yeah.
okay with ex B because, first off, like she hurt you like crazy, and I don't. If ever you do wanna do this non-monogamy thing for yourself, I don't see you safe there. So ganon, like safety and dishonesty, I guess, are the main points of what I'm trying to point out.
It's very refreshing to hear from both of you, such values that you don't really have sometimes with monogamous relationship, the honesty, the communication, the trust, and all this like background checks.
Yeah, and that's so interesting, Bea. Now we have two polyamorous guests, and you guys have very like similar but also very different ways of handling things, which is so interesting. It just shows that things really aren't black and white. Like you can be in this kind of relationship or that kind of relationship, and you
Yeah.
handle things differently. Different
Yeah,
mind.
people, like practical tips. Use Slack, I guess that's what he's saying. Trello for managing your.
You know what? We should.
Probably should.
I can
No, but
imagine.
there was a time where I was like seeing three other girls, and then like my girlfriend was asking me, she was like, "Hey, what happened to this girl?" I was like, "Oh, it's not a girl A day today. It's a girl B today. It's a girl B day today." So I think maybe tomorrow I'll check it on girl A. And she's like, okay, sige, just update me. I'm like, okay.
I
So I
have
have like
I have an
days.
annoying question though. Like Trisha and Kai, like at the same time, ano yung most number nyo? Like biggest number na you were of partners at one moment? Highest number. Manablock.
Uh, um, hmm. That's a hard one because like people fade in and out.
Yeah, they go
Um,
in and out like.
Oo.
yeah, and
Pero yung
sometimes it's
peak,
more like a
yung peak na
friend at least
parang
sometimes.
kailangan mo na maglabas ng planner mo na parang, oh my God, okay, ano yung peak?
Maybe like
Confused ka na.
4,
4, okay.
4.
4 or
Okay.
5.
5.
5-ish.
I didn't know that.
6.
I didn't know that.
4.5. How about you, Kai? How
Three
many?
lang ako. Three.
3.
Okay, what do you call each person? Is there, like you're saying there's A, B, C, but is there a specific term that can be used for each
So yeah.
role?
So we know primary, and then guys, what's the other one?
Secondaries,
And
Okay.
then your
tertiaries.
Okay.
tertiaries.
But this is only if you have a hierarchy. Some people don't. Like everyone's equal, so they're just partners.
So I think Bea, that brings us to our game.
Oh, okay.
Oh wait,
Oh,
wait, hold on.
no.
Before our game, there was
That was
this one
not so
interesting
smooth.
question from our Instagram because we posted the question if they have any specific questions about these kinds of non-monogamous relationships. And then this one person asked, "What's the best non-sexual perk about being in a poly relationship? And what's the biggest con other than sex?"
I have a really good perk. Shared household duties.
Ah.
Like
Like
housemates with other
yeah,
benefits.
parang like if,
Oo.
especially if you live near or with each other, like sometimes they help you clean up, or like if one person is drunk, they help you take care of them. So it's just like an ease on like the emotional labor of taking care of your household. So this is such a weird non-sexual perk that I love because I'm like a mom. So I love
Yeah.
when people
is.
help me
She is.
wash dishes.
Mama
Mama
Polly.
Polly.
Mama
You have a
Polly
new
and
name.
Mama and everything. Di lang sa
Even even in our barkada, she's the mom. Like she's
Yeah.
forever the mom. Like every year.
Like you have to change your handles now. Your social
Yeah.
handles.
Mama
Yeah,
Polly.
Mama
I
Polly.
should.
Kai,
Yeah.
your baby Polly. How about you, Kai? What's the biggest perk other than sex?
It's the connections for me. Like being able to form those, having the leeway and the freedom, and just to be able to form those deeper connections, even though I do have loving, trusting, caring relationship with my primary, being able to still have the freedom to do the single thing, if I may say, like the commonly thought of as single stuff like dating and flirting and getting to know people. I can still do that. I like that. I like having both. Like that's the
Yeah.
thing. Not having to choose either or. Having
Yeah.
having both. I think is the best perk of it.
That's so interesting. Embracing
love
kind
it.
of like all the connections you have. And this is something that was posed to me a few years ago to a friend. Like she always believed that she had many loves. Like you can have a lot of loves in your life. And they
Yes.
can happen simultaneously or synchronizing, as Shari loves synchronized swimming.
I love synchronized swimming. It's an
Okay,
amazing sport, Bea. Don't judge them. Ang galing. Okay, ang galing.
I'm
have
not
to
judging
agree.
them. I'm not
And
judging
curling.
them.
Curling looks so simple, but the precision of curling. And sinisigawan mo yung mga teammates mo with this big-ass boulder
I'm
and
not.
then ice
I'm judging you with that.
with
No one knows
broom.
this.
That's next level concentration. Wait, so Bea, come on.
Hi,
Let's
game time.
enter our game. Tell
I'm game
tell us our
expert.
game.
Okay, so this is inspired by Kill Fuck Mary, basically. And we will be using the terms primary, secondary, and tertiary. We have made the game very even. We have local celebrities and international celebrities.
Mm-mm.
And Shari and I will take turns on representing, but Shari wants to do the local.
Local. Man. Team local.
Okay, we'll start off. Round 1.
Round 1.
Sali rin kayo, guys, kung gusto
Primary,
niyo.
secondary, tertiary. Come on, Bea.
Will I represent? Or will I? I'll
No,
say it
ako
first.
yung sasagot.
Yeah, ikaw pala yung local. Sige.
Ako yung local.
Okay, round 1, Richard Gomez, Aga Mulak, and Gabby Concepcion. Tama ba?
Okay.
Oh.
Primary ko will always be Aga Mulak. Number 2, secondary, Gabby Concept. No. Primary, Aga. Secondary, Richard. Tertiary, Gabby Concepcion.
Okay. Go
Okay,
for it.
Kai, how about you?
Primary Richard Gomez. And
What
then
does that even mean? How?
secondary Agamulak, tertiary Gabby Concepcion.
Oh my gosh, Kai, we're the same.
Same. I love it.
Like mother, like daughter. Keme.
Apple does not fall far from the tree.
Not very far.
Okay. Round
Round
2.
two.
Bea, this one's you naman. Okay.
Sige.
Guys. Bea Alonzo, Ann Curtis, Sarah Geronimo.
Bea Alonso.
Ooh.
Primary ko si Ann. I go.
Ako muna?
Go,
Sige.
go.
Primary
Go.
ko si Bea Alonzo kasi marunong siya mag-bake. So, hindi ako magugutom. Wala palang justification. Secondary, Sarah Geronimo. Tertiary, Ann Curtis. No offense.
Ako primary ko si Sarah G. I love you, Sarah G. Okay. Okay. Kai and Trisha.
I think I do Bea and Sarah.
I would do Ann, Bea, Sarah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, round 3. Ito, favorite ko ako ba sasagot? Or ikaw? Sige, go, Shari. Round 3. Brad Pitt, George Clooney, and Johnny Depp.
Ay!
Ako, George, Brad, Johnny.
Do you know what's really funny? Is that Brad Pitt is a secondary.
What? Yes?
He has a girlfriend who's married, so that means he's the secondary.
Oh my god.
That's good. That's
So
good.
he is my secondary. Match kami ni girlfriend. Brad, hit me up. You can be my secondary.
I
Oh.
think I would make Brad my primary though.
Okay.
And then Johnny Depp my secondary. And then George Clooney my tertiary.
Sorry, George. Okay. How about you,
Sorry.
Kai?
Brad, George, Johnny. Hala, first name basis.
O, Bea, sagutin mo na rin.
Baby na lang.
Ay, sumagot ako. Sige, Brad Pitt, Brad Pitt, Brad Pitt. You know.
Okay. Okay, guys, this is my favorite. Let's all answer this, okay? John Lloyd Cruz, Gerald Anderson, Derek Ramsey.
Sino una?
Pwede bang marry John Lloyd and Derek and then kill Gerard? I know that's not the game, but
Pinalitan ko.
I know. Gerald. Okay.
Jared's not invited.
Sorry, Gerald.
Okay. Ako, Derek Ramsey, John Lloyd, Gerald. No one likes Gerald.
Ikaw, Kai.
Derek, Gerald, John Lloyd.
Ako rin. Derek, Gerald. I know, Derek, John Lloyd, Gerald. Sorry, Gerald. I can't.
Okay, good break.
Okay, that was a good break. Okay, so third stage na tayo, guys. We're in the synchronized swimming. Okay, the analogy kasi, that's why Bea and I thought of synchronized swimming, is because if you watch the Olympics, because Bea is so judgmental of my synchronized swimming obsession, you see that they look, when they pan from on top, they look, before we continue, let's answer this question. If you aren't very experienced in relationships in general, but open and curious about polyamory, would it be okay to get into that? Or would you guys recommend a monogamous relationship first?
Hmm.
That's an interesting
I
question.
don't know. I feel like if we're doing the sports analogy, it's a completely different sport. So, sure there are some skills you can transpose, but they each come with their own challenges and joys. So I wouldn't necessarily say that you need to be in a monogamous relationship first, because you don't need that for success.
Okay.
This is a good question though, but after. Kai,
How about you, Kai? What do you think?
Yeah, they are two different sports. I agree with Trisha, where it's like, parang they're not different. Yeah, there are different rules to both monogamy and polyamory, but both can fulfill the need for the caring, loving, trusting type of relationship. But then, like, I how do I answer that? Where it's like, because my typical thinking would be like, yeah, of course, like, monogamy is the most normal way to do it. But also you have to remember that, like, it's two different sports. So it's not necessarily like one should come before the other. It's more of like, which one would you like to play? Which kind of sport would you like to play? Parang ganon eh.
Yeah,
But
so
one is
basically,
synchronized swimming and one is competitive racing. I
so
think swimming.
each an arc. Basically, the point is monogamy isn't the beginner round. They're two different things. Like polyamory is not the advanced level of a relationship.
No.
So
Yeah.
I guess finding the sport that you're better at is the advice here. Since we're
I
doing sports analogy.
I don't think it's a ladderized program,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you listen to yourself what you need and then go about what would suit you best, right?
Right,
I mean,
right,
that's
right.
what life is about, being content. And if poly is gonna make you content, monogamy is gonna make you content, go for it. Or-
Mhm.
Yeah, and like I think that if we're doing again sports, it's just like if they're both different kinds of swimming, you still need to learn how to swim.
Right.
You still need the same basic core skills. It's just different applications of the same skill, because the things that make a polyamorous relationship successful are also the things that make a monogamous relationship successful.
Yeah, it's like you
Yeah.
need to know how to like run, like but you can choose whether to do soccer or you can choose whether to do like basketball. Gets ba? Parang gano'n. I don't know.
We're
It's
all
about
about the sports here. Where's the world cup?
All I want to do was curling. I want to roll a giant boulder across some ice and yell at people to sweep the ice for me so the boulder will
Get
stop at the
get over
specific
this.
spot I need.
This is not a universal mainstream sport. There's tennis, there's basketball. This is not.
Curling's the thing, Bea. Get on the program. Curling. You yell at it. You yell at it. People will sleep. Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
let's go third stage.
Third third stage. So synchronized swimming. So Bea and I thought of this analogy because when you watch synchronized swimming during the Olympics, you see them. It's a struggle underwater to make
Mm.
sure that you look graceful and beautiful on the surface. And we believe that relationships, I guess particularly non-traditional relationships, are that it's a lot of work for it to actually look graceful and smooth on the surface. So what is your advice to make these relationships actually work for people? Let's start with the baby Polly, Kai.
Baby Polly. Just change your names, guys. Baby and
Baby Polly.
Oh my
I
god,
think
guys, look, we helped. You're welcome, Ethan. You're
Aw.
welcome.
we love you.
XOXO.
Yay.
Okay, so go ahead, Kai.
I think
Um,
for me it's making sure that the grounding is level. Like when there is a sense that someone is above you, or there's a sense that parang there's this power dynamic that kind of shows that someone has more of like control, more say in the relationship than someone else, and then the other person rather, than the other primary. I feel that's when it gets messed up, when the power dynamic isn't that you're equals, you know? And I think it's to sustain, you have to work on sustaining that equal balance between you two. And you can all, and you could, as I said earlier, it's always about being open and that radical honesty talaga. Clarity is kindness is what I like to say. Like, always be clear about your intentions. Always be clear about where you want this relationship to go, what
sorry,
your
Kai,
goal
what-
will be.
clarity is kindness, you said, right?
Clarity is kindness. Yes, clarity is kindness to
I love
yourself
that.
and to your partner, to your
Yeah.
other partners. It's really about being kind. It's just being kind to yourself and being kind
Mhm.
to your partner by keeping the playing field equal between you two, and by
Mhm.
being clear and open and honest about what you want, where you want things to go. So
Yeah.
yeah, radical honesty and clarity.
Clarity is kindness.
Clarity
How
is
about
kindness.
you, Mama Polly?
Mama Polly.
Mama play.
I think one of the really important, like, foundational skills, yes, that you need to have is like a heightened self-awareness and self-acceptance, like knowing what it is you need out of a relationship specifically, so
Mm-mm.
that when the time comes that you have to express your needs and tell your partner, hey, this is what I need for this to happen. Hey, this is what I need to feel comfortable, or this is what I need to not feel jealous. You know exactly what to tell your partner. You're not making them guess. You're not making them figure it out. Kasi ikaw mismo di mo alam. So,
Yeah.
it's about really knowing yourself and strengthening that relationship with yourself so that you can ask something of your partner and you also know what things you're not willing to accept. And that's
Mm-mm.
like the basis of all of your communication and all of your
Yeah.
compromise is knowing what you want and what you're willing to, give a little bit of leeway.
Right.
Yeah.
In relation to that, like something I learned from one of my friends is a relationship gets toxic when you are negotiating your non-negotiables.
Ah,
Like
I think you have to come back
how
when we talk about
wise!
non-negotiables.
Bea, type,
yeah.
ano nga daw yun? Again.
Pakiulit,
Wait, you have to type
pakiulit.
that. It's on the top. What was it again?
A relationship gets toxic when you negotiate your
Wait,
non-negotiables.
I'll type it. I
just,
got it ready.
okay.
Sige, continue.
Okay. I'm not gonna slouch, I promised.
Nip slip.
And
A relation, yeah, that makes so much
yeah.
sense.
And and one more thing is you meeting in the middle doesn't necessarily mean 50-50. Like you don't meet in the middle. Sometimes, depending on your non-negotiable, someone has to meet you at 25, the other has to meet you at 75. What meeting in the middle doesn't mean start dead center. If it's 1 to 100, middle is 2 to 99. And sometimes,
Okay.
depending on your non-negotiables, like someone will have to meet you farther into the middle, and someone will have to meet you right where you're at. And that's how your compromise goes, and you can only get there by knowing what are my non-negotiables, what are the things I will not compromise on. And I think
Yeah.
that's kind of, what Trisha said is the basis of that communication, is the basis of how to communicate your needs. You have to know what your needs are. Yeah.
So
I really love actually all the advice. It's one of the questions I was bringing up with Shari a while ago. Is like, what can you learn? Like monogamous relationships. What can they learn from this kind of setup?
Yeah.
Because for us, it's like this is a platform for like no judgment really, and be as open as possible as you can be. And all the things you've shared with us is like monogamous relationships can pick it up as well.
yeah, so what's the main advice there, right?
Yeah. Ayun na nga,
So,
ang dami na nating
To
nabigay.
monogamous relationships, I think personally what I picked up as somebody who's only drawn to monogamous relationships is communication really is the way to go. Whether you're in a monogamous relationship or a non-monogamous relationship, you don't communicate, it's gonna fail.
Yeah.
Like you can't be dramatic and saying, oh no, there are things that I want to keep to myself, like my cards are my cards and your cards are your cards. But I feel like if you're in it for the long haul and you're in it for what's best for the both of you, lay everything on the table and communicate, and then it will work. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's it.
Bea, what do you think?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean that's communication is key. People keep telling me this.
And it's
Maybe
so
I know.
cliche, but then like it's so
It's
true, isn't
cliche,
it?
yeah.
It's cliche, but
Mm-mm.
it's so true. Like that key, that line, communication is key. It's thrown around so much,
Yeah.
but then you look at all these relationships, monogamous and non-monogamous alike, and a lot of them are just a lot of relationships fail because they don't get to communicate. Even though communication is key, it's something thrown around so often,
Yeah,
And I think
it's
it's
so
important
easy.
to put into
Yeah.
practice.
It's so easy to say, but I think the main thing that gets in the way is pride. Like you're always so
Mm-mm.
scared that you say something and they won't be on the same page and you'd look like a sucker, or
Right.
you'd say something, it'll make you sound needy or it'll make you sound desperate or
Right.
insecure. So then you keep things to yourself. So again,
Right.
guys,
Right.
I have
that's
one
not the way.
question. So Shari and I have been on a search for love since the beginning of this podcast. It is a challenge we put together for
We
ourselves
had
to
that challenge.
find.
Bea, tell them our challenge. What was our challenge
So
from
by the
episode
end of the
1?
year or the end of season 1?
End
Malapit
of
na yun.
season 1. End of the year.
Okay, end of the year is to find a real human connection, like or a love, right?
Not naman a relationship, but a genuine connection, especially during this lockdown.
Yeah,
Right.
Kasi our first episode was virtual dating, and Bea and I are very skeptical about virtual dating actually translating into modern life.
yeah. Wait, my question
Wait,
was how.
my question for us, Bea, Shari, Bea, after this episode, would you now be open to polyamorous relationship?
Is that a proposition? You know
As long as,
what?
tayo
Ano?
kami ni Bea as secondary, may primary. We have things to do.
Payag akong tertiary, ikaw na lang primary.
Sabi ko
Wala lang.
secondary nga, payag ako eh.
To be determined, Marquitos, we can talk about it.
Yeah, ako ba, pero for me personally, I don't think it's my thing, but you never know, but the likelihood is low. But again, I'm it's fascinating to me that it can work, and I believe that both kinds of relationships can work. It just depends on what suits you the most.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yun nga. So parang for me, I don't know yet. I've been pretty bruised in my last relationship with, having, the boundaries being crossed. Like you're saying, don't enter the master bed or whatever. It all just happened. Like there were no rules. And even if you said rules, they were never followed. And you just keep accepting that situation. And you're like, how much... I think si Ellen Adarna ba? She was like, she went viral for this quote na parang, you tolerate, and then you deserve what you tolerate, right? I think she said that. But anyways, for me, I am not yes or no, but in life, I'm really open to anything anyways. So.
And I find that so brave of you, having been through like a bad, like open relationship setup and still being open to like learning more about it, understanding it, instead of being like so angry at it, which is so common nowadays. Like when you don't understand something, people get mad, If you don't understand something, it doesn't make sense. Like yesterday, I posted about my partner and I and our setup, and someone was like, lol, that's just cheating condoned by your partner. That's a messed up relationship, you know? And it's really nice to see that there are people like you guys who really want to be open and understanding and curious about this. So thank you very much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean it.
and
Yeah, go
like you
on.
mentioned, Kai, Bea, like during our red flags episode, she shared so much, and she is, as annoying as she is, she's very graceful as to how she handled her past. As recent as she is, she really, it's hard to
Mother,
get out
mother.
gracefully and take lessons from a really bad situation you were in. Because if you hear her stories, that person was
Like
terrible. But
personally, like for example, I love strip clubs. I love talking to the strippers there. They're really interesting. It's one of the things I am curious about how they maintain relationships outside that kind of work.
Right.
yeah,
So yeah, there's so much more we can go about it. But I guess like Sherry, should we give like last takeaways or advice about? I
do we
don't
have
think
it?
we can
Yeah,
give advice. I don't think I can.
conclusions. We always have conclusions and last minute last words that we want to impart to our viewers.
Guys,
Oh,
questions rin
see?
if you
Ay,
have
ang
any.
dami nag-agree sa akin, Bea. I'm sorry. Buisit nga, but we love you. As buisit
Uh,
as you are.
Wait, I know buisit nga talaga ako, but there's one question here that we missed. I really like this. Did we answer this? Do Filipinos
No.
secretly love the restrictions of a monogamous relationship?
That is
What do
an
you
interesting question.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Secretly, they actually really want to be monogamous.
like they love the rules of the setup.
You know, what's so interesting to me is that we have all these movies, these Querida films, in media, it's always shown, no? Na parang
I
the
love a Karida
Querida,
film. I'm not going to lie.
right? Right? You know other woman. And it's like, and even in like regular, I don't know if it's true for you guys, but I've heard of so many like older couples where like one partner is cheating on their spouse. And I was talking to someone from the states, and they were like, why is there a lot of men here don't wear their wedding bands? And I was like, that's an
Do they
interesting
not?
I mean, what she saw, na parang she realized
Wow.
that a lot of men don't wear their wedding bands in the
Yung
Philippines.
excuse daw kasi tumataba sila. Allegedly, they get fat, but that's a lie.
Or
I don't
Well,
know.
nawawala.
just the ring.
I don't know if exactly. I don't know if it's Filipino culture, but I think it's a machismo thing that
Yeah,
men
Mm.
here
yeah,
feel like it's cool to cheat, and then when women do the same thing, they're sluts. Which I
right,
think is another
right.
topic. With these gender inequality things, or it's intense. But continue, Kai. You were saying.
Wait lang, we have a commute for open relationships.
Oh yeah,
Trish, I'll
sorry.
plug that later. Plug that later, Trish.
Yeah. Do I plug it now or later?
Plug
Oh
it now,
yeah, you
plug it
can
now,
plug
plug
it
it
now,
now.
Trisha. Go ahead.
Okay. So, like, literally yesterday, we started a Facebook group called Ethical Non-Monogamy Philippines. So I think if you search it, you can find it. You can also find it on our Twitter or the Now Open page. It's just a community of people who are either interested in ethical non-monogamy or who are already participating in it. So if you want to learn more about ethical non-monogamy, polyamory, open relationships from real
Ethical
people who are
non-monogamy.
experiencing it, yeah, Philippines, I think, not PH. So yeah, that Facebook group is open. We currently have 60 members and it's growing. It literally just started yesterday, so there's really not much there yet, but you can expect lots more posts and fun hangs
Don't
with
even
each
type.
other.
Bea, please type. I'm not typing. I can't.
We will type
But
it later on. Yeah.
yeah, that's super interesting. It's like basically, Trisha, it's a good place to learn about polyamory and connect to people who are going through the same things, which is, I guess, the best place to find advice is to people who are on common ground, you know? So it's a good. Guys, here's another question before we do our conclusions. How do you deal with your secondary treats you as their primary or sees you as their primary?
Off to
So,
you,
kumbaga si
mother
secondary
falling.
is overstepping.
Ah, okay. I don't know.
That's
I
for mother
haven't had
falling.
experience with this.
So
Okay.
me
I mean, I
neither.
haven't had so much experience with this, but generally, if you set really clear expectations and really clear boundaries, because if we're being fair naman to the person who sees you as their primary, labels are just labels. You know, you can't really contain the entirety of your relationship in a single label. So when you say they're considering you as their primary, what does that mean? Does it mean that they're expecting more of you? Does it mean that they want you to treat them in a way that they treat their primary? Like, what does that mean? So it's more like exploring what each people need in their relationship and what each people can give. So
Yeah.
if it's clear naman na okay, hanggang dito lang kaya ko, because of time, energy, or because it's what I want, then the other person has to accept that. But let's say they just want to feel more loved or more taken care of. Maybe you can negotiate that. Maybe you can negotiate for an extra day every week. Maybe you can negotiate for more time. Or maybe you could just ask them, can you give me words of affirmation? So it depends really on what's going on there, because if it's just feelings and like a need or whatever, then that's fine. But if it starts going into like possessive territory, then you need to watch out for that too.
Right.
Yeah. Whew, I love this.
It's such an interesting topic. Now I guess, I mean, if I'm honest, I came into researching non-traditional relationships as, mainly sexually motivated, and I guess in my head it's like jealousy would be intense, but it turns out it's not. Again, which is a lesson to everyone that you listen to other points of views and you'd be surprised as to what you learn. So
Yes.
don't judge first. Always enter things with an open mind. Right, Bea?
Yeah, I mean, like for me, the conclusion, like just listening to you guys, it's really not a swing club or a group. Like it's not that. It's not promiscuous sex. It's really, being non-possessive, honest, responsible, and what I love what you said, Kai, is radical honesty, which
Yeah.
in this world, a lot of people lie their way through life. And if we could just learn one thing from this episode is be honest, just say what you mean, and
And
Be
mean
be
what you say.
kind.
be honest, communicate. Again, like all our past episodes, Bea, did you notice a common theme? Communication. Somehow it's so hard. And
Uh,
again, being kind and communicate and being honest, it's such an important thing. And being, I guess, being fair with your agenda. I mean, you have your primaries, you have to be honest with your secondaries, and you have to
Yes.
be with the tertiaries, which is a bit more complicated, isn't it?
yeah.
So how about
And
to the professionals? Oh, what? But Bea?
wait, sorry, the indecent proposal should be renamed to decent proposal. The film. They should
Oh,
remake it.
did I mention already my Tinder hunt for guests before we found our great guests? I kept getting the men kept going like, I'm not in an open relationship, but I can be. Wink. Like, guys, see, that's why we're so scared of these open relationships thing, because like it's
They're
men saying,
assholes.
I'm in an open relationship. Wink. AKA hindi. Manloloko ako and I'm
Right.
in an open relationship.
Right.
Wink.
Okay,
See,
expert conclusions.
yeah,
What do you think? Not
expert.
from us.
Let's start with mama naman now.
How
Go,
do I
mother.
conclude all of that? Oh my gosh, in like one sentence. Uh,
You can take your
Two
time.
sentence. Go ahead.
two sentences. Oh my gosh. Okay, as long as it's not two sentence maximum. I think poly is something that we're not taught. So don't be scared to explore it. Don't be scared to try it, because I think that if you're with someone who loves and respects you and you love and respect them back, like even if you stumble along the way, voila, you're a team. So you can handle anything. You can handle any problem. So just look at your partner as your partner and not as your like opponent or your enemy. Like you can it's not a zero sum game. You can both win. And that's like the
Exactly.
ultimate goal naman talaga.
Yeah.
Baby
How about
Polly.
baby Polly?
For me, I think one of the messages I really wanted to impart is that non-monogamy is as valid as monogamy and is something that exists, and you can do it in such a way that is ethical, and you can still have a loving, caring, open, and honest relationship, even though it's not the common like way of doing it, you know. And if there's anything I wanted to take from the non-monogamy experience and impart it on everyone, is to really communicate and be honest about things, and to, like I said, give that radical honesty, you know, that and to understand that communication isn't always going to be like something where it won't always be successful. But the point is that you always try, and you always, like, you make these iterations in your communications in order for it to work, diba? It's not, you won't get it right the first time. And I think the point is that you always have to try communicating and being honest. It's a skill. So yeah, there, work on that skill.
How do they keep in touch with you guys? I mean, there's a group that we've shared on the chat, but how do they keep in touch with you on Twitter, on Instagram, where?
And your podcast.
Yeah.
Go, Kai. I'll do everything in one go when you're done.
Spit it
That's
out.
XOXCAI on Twitter and Instagram.
I am at Trisha O'Bannon on Twitter. We also have a Facebook page for Now Open PH. So that's Now Open PH on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. We are also on Spotify as Now Open the podcast. You can actually catch a live broadcast of our podcast every Tuesday, 9 p.m. So do that Tuesday nights and then do this Wednesday nights.
That's cool. Bea, lessons mo, and then tell our guests what's our next episode next Wednesday. Lesson muna,
Sige.
then our next episode.
Lesson for me is expressing your needs, radical honesty, and no judgment, as always. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, next episode is exciting, one that Shari and I personally love and we have experience with, right?
Bad experience.
We'll be chatting about cross-cultural dating. Let's call this episode Fishing for a Foreigner.
In Manila. Or technically the word is afam. I'm sure our Filipinos here are familiar. We got a lot of questions about it.
Yeah, so tune in, head to our YouTube page and subscribe and set a reminder. I mean, you really don't want to miss a heartbeat. I think this is a good one. Should we read this out, Cherry? Someone
Go
has
ahead,
a
Dea.
lot of takeaways.
Yeah.
So my takeaways for tonight, Jared. Okay, thank you. Number 1, never make assumptions. Talk about everything. Number 2, polyamory will not solve existing relationship problems. Number 3, toxic relationships stem from negotiating your non-negotiables. Yeah.
Oh, Jared. Great insights. I agree with him. Oh, afam. Exactly. We're gonna try to find the best guests for you guys to figure this out. So also, guys, subscribe to our newsletter. First issue. Bea, type up our how they can
Tapos
subscribe to
na.
it. Oh, there it is. Ang galing mo talaga. Kahit na buisit ka, magaling ka. Okay, so subscribe to our newsletter. First issue is finally coming out. Trust us, we don't send boring emails. This will make you laugh, cheer you up on your hectic days, or if you're experiencing Zoom fatigue, which is actually a thing now.
Yeah.
So, guys, again, it's been a nice Wednesday with all of you. Stay thirsty. Join us again next week for another episode. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you. And good night, everybody. Thank you all for
Thank
being
you,
such
Mama and
great
Baby Polly.
viewers. Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
for
Kai.
having us.
Thank
Trisha.
you so much.
Hey.